Good morning. I am Jenny Remsberg.
And I'm Chrys Howard, and we welcome you to It's a Mom Thing on this Monday morning.
Oh,
We're already
honey.
flying through the month. Went through Labor Day weekend last weekend.
Look, I just laughed whenever I asked you how your weekend was, and you were just like, "How was it?" Y'all, if y'all knew really what her world is like right now, it is hysterical.
Well,
I mean,
it's busy, that's for sure. I don't know
but
about
that's hysterical. Like, what's
I know.
hysterical to me is you and I will talk, and we'll like in snippets because we're doing other little things that I
Right,
was, you
right.
were giving me little assignments here and there.
Yes.
Okay. Then I see a Instagram or a Facebook from Georgetown, which is right outside of Austin, and I'm like, no, wait a minute, what? And then I'm like, I know that was on Saturday.
That was on Saturday before Labor Day, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, not this last Saturday. But
Right.
That's why I'm laughing, because I asked you on Labor Day, how was your
Right.
weekend? Okay, back to this. So I said, I text her, I'm like, Georgetown? Well, then I know Duck Commander Sunday was the Sunday before Labor Day, and I know
Right.
that is way crazy. I mean, 2 services and all that. Well, then I didn't talk to Chrys, because I knew that it was all crazy and very busy, very, very busy. I knew she had a full house. Then I see Instagrams and Facebook posts from Bloomington. And so then I'm like texting her going, okay, now wait a minute. Because, I mean, I know we have a show Labor Day. I'm like, but, when those little private jets go, they just come
That's
go.
right. Yeah, I did not give any detail, but that particular weekend, yes, I was in Georgetown, Texas, where Sadie spoke in front of about 1,300 teenagers. Just did such a great job. So proud of
Incredible.
her. And then on Sunday, after we did Labor Day, we flew
No,
out.
you mean after you did Duck
after
Commander
we did
Sunday.
Duck
See,
Commander
she's still
Sunday,
not got it straight.
yeah, I'm telling you. I took off with John Luke and Sadie, and they both threw out the first pitch at a baseball minor league game in Bloomington,
fun.
Illinois, and signed, I really do believe it was close to 2,000 autographs.
Good
So,
gracious.
yes, but the weather was so nice, and the people there kept apologizing for how hot it was. And I said, no, excuse me, we are from Louisiana.
Right.
This is just beautiful
That
weather.
is
It was
so
a
funny.
beautiful day, and I think it was about 80, and they were like, it's just so hot.
And then you just slid in just in time for the show.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now after this show, you're zooming out to head to New York.
Then we'll be in New York for Sadie to introduce her prom line at Fashion Week. So we're very
Crazy.
excited about that happening.
And that's going to be Sadie Live.
Sadie Live Original.
Sadie Live or Live?
Sadie Live Original.
Why is it? Oh, Live Original.
Live Original. That's
Yeah.
the name of her
Okay.
prom dress line. And it's gotten a lot of publicity. And for those of
Yeah.
you who saw that episode where she and her dad try to find a decent prom dress, you know the dilemma. Or if you even have had a teenager, you know the
Hello.
dilemma of finding a prom dress that's appropriate.
Well, appropriate first, which forget about it because we tried on 95. Then we realized that none of them were long enough. So thus,
Yeah,
the
for
sewing
you,
machine.
absolutely. Yes, just make it yourself.
Oh, my gracious.
So the prom line, they have been very, very nice. It's Sherry Hill is the name of her designer.
And she's amazing.
She's an amazing lady, and she's just said, we'll add a couple inches, we'll make it, just whatever we need to do.
They've raised the necklines, lowered the hemlines, and
They
it's
have.
really friendly. It's dad friendly.
They really, really have. And while we're not really geared here to promote Sadie and her things, but I do want to say that she has her YouTube. She
I
and
was
Kobe
just going to
Co-op.
say that.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's
I
going
Am
to
Different.
air every Monday. I Am Different is the name of their YouTube channel. That's how you say it. I'm not how
Their
you
YouTube account.
Their account.
Yep.
And last week we had some difficulty loading it all on there. So we hope we've got all those little kinks out, and it's going to go up later today. And everybody will be able to be a part of that. So if you're looking for a great role model for your teens, and these two girls certainly are.
That's so exciting. Yeah, I was over here like doing the whole PR thing of all your things. I'm kind of,
Yeah, you are. You're
kind of helping you remember all that you're
Thank you,
running
Jenny.
through. Well, because
Yes.
I'm the last one to find out. I'm not kidding y'all. I
Well-
was like, wait a minute, where are you? What?
Well,
What?
in this world of, how we can be different places and at the same place at one time, then we're gone, and then we're texting here, we're here. It's just so fast. We live in a fast
Well,
paced
now
world.
your world's gotten extremely fast paced, and it becomes more fast paced when the people that they're making appearances with are taking care of a private
Right.
plane. Well, then you don't go according to schedules, and it gets
Right.
super fast.
And they have to do that now, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have any family life.
Right.
This way,
I remember Jay
they just go in
saying
and out.
something at Sadie's birthday party about, he had made like 4 appearances in 2 days or
Right.
something, like
Yeah.
all all over the place and barely got in. But
Right.
it just was totally worn out because, I mean, one was like up north, one was LSU. And I mean, I was like, how in the world? Well, it's because the private planes.
But speaking of this world that we live in today and the great world of media, not
Yeah.
necessarily social media, you were sharing with your conversations with Victoria, who's in Australia.
I mean,
and that's so neat. And
it's amazing to me to get to, and every time I FaceTime with her, I have to take pictures of her
Yeah.
face because
Yeah.
she's just so elated.
yeah.
I mean, really, God is just totally transforming the way they view things and the way they think. And she's just thrilled because Hillsong's whole motto, their mantra, their hashtag for everything is "We love us." It's not "We love each other" because that separates into individuals. And they're just, it's such a place of unity and just, I mean, it's an incredible thing she's experiencing. And so therefore, I'm experiencing.
And then you get to experience it through
Oh.
the Facebook time. Well, the other day I was walking through my kitchen and my 13-year-old grandson, Asa, had his phone on the counter talking. You know, the phone's on the counter and he's just talking away. I'm like, what are you doing? He said, oh, I'm talking to Maddox. That's my other grandson who lives in Huntsville. So I leaned over the phone and I said, hey, Maddox, how are you? You know, and it's just so cool that like Maddox is in our kitchen, but he's not.
Oh, I know.
You know,
Yeah.
Asa was just getting a snack and doing all that, and Maddox is just following him around as if he were there, and then I can pop in and say hi and
Well,
catch up on his day.
on Labor Day, we had a family time at my brother's and his wife's home here, and family came in and everything. But you know, the ones that are not here, what's the word I'm trying to say? Inevitably. Thank you.
Yes, there
I
you
was
go.
trying to say
I didn't-
eventually, and I knew that wasn't
I
it.
didn't help at all.
No, but it's okay.
yeah.
They inevitably call in during
Yes,
that time.
yes.
Oh, I wish I was there.
I know.
So I get home, and Victoria had inboxed me. I'm gonna FaceTime at such and such a time. When she FaceTimed me, she had already spent time with Dan and Andrea, my
Wow.
brother and his wife. She had already spent 30 minutes talking with Grandma Margie and Pop Pop. You know, and Grandma Margie and Pop Pop were missionaries.
Yes.
And so Mom grew up in Ecuador where you didn't hear from family for 6
No.
months
Oh, yes.
at all.
Uh-huh.
So for them to get to see her surroundings and see her face, and she's just, you know, it is really an amazing
is.
for all of the trouble that can come.
And we do warn everybody out there about that trouble often, because
Yes.
I heard more even this weekend as I was talking to my sister, who's Dr. Jonelle Kirby, and giving the warnings about this social media, that we've just got to stay diligent with that. So for all of that, we know all that's there, but there is this great place.
Well, it was intended for great,
Right.
But as soon as there's something great, you know, the enemy comes to pervert.
That's right.
Every single
That's
time.
right.
So that is something to be extremely attentive to, because in the right context, it is phenomenal. I can attest to that, but it can so easily be perverted, and then
That's right.
there's a lot of trouble. So.
Well, okay, our show today is going to be all about etiquette. So we're excited about sharing that with you. It's time for us as parents to get diligent about that.
Yes,
But we've
very
got a mom
intentional.
alert. You know, we always try to do our mom alert, and we haven't been consistent this summer only because we've been doing a different format.
Right, we
But
had
this
guests.
one is really, really interesting. This is a lady who's a mom whose daughter broke her leg while she was in a car seat. So this is just something to
Oh, my
be
word.
alert. She had put her 18-month-old in the car seat, and she had managed to wedge her foot in a bar that goes across the driver's seat, and she twisted it with just enough force that it actually broke her leg. And so this is just one of those things to be alert to. There are vehicles that have those bars across that front seat, and children are little wiggly, wiry things, and they can do things we don't even know they can do. I read an article about this thing about minding our manners and how important it is. And then on top of that, Jenny is teaching a course this semester at Claiborne Christian to the fifth grade?
Middle schoolers.
Middle school.
Yeah.
Middle school. And it just coincided with this article that I read. And this article talks, it was in Christianity Today, and it talks about that there was a time during the 50s and 60s when the feminists got rid of this this manners thing, you know, kind of
The
rejected
ladylike
the
thing.
ladylikeness, you know, thinking that being a lady for some reason rendered you powerless, you know, which is totally ridiculous.
It's totally opposite.
Totally
because
opposite.
being a lady, you have that power. God created us that way.
Right, but we see what has happened since that time.
Oh.
We've lost our minds on behavior, you know, literally. And we've kind of done a little turnaround, which is a good thing. And
We're doing
one
it.
of the one of the statistics says that publishers actually released a slew of etiquette books this last year, which is a reflection on the fact that the public is saying we need to get back to this
Yes.
idea.
Well, the whole thing is based out of respect, and it coincides with the reality that we've talked about of our society lacking respect in so many ways, beginning with self-respect, because the trend has been self-esteem,
Right.
which is empty. Self-respect is where the value is, and when we respect ourselves, we will respect the world around us. And that's what etiquette is showing respect and really presenting yourself. One of the resources I had described it as presenting yourself as in a position of peace.
Yeah.
And you think about it, when there's someone loud and someone making disruptions, that's not a peaceful
No, that's
thing.
not a place of
Yeah,
peace.
you're not coming in peace.
Right. And this article, what I liked about it is the lady who wrote it said that she was coming from a place of not, she grew up in the South, actually, and she calls it a border town on the Louisiana border, deep in East Texas. So I'm not sure where that was.
That would be around Orange, Texas, or,
But
or
she
Vidor,
says that
Louisiana.
her mother insisted on proper decorum, being a lady. And she said her mother would even say things like, always look your best, even if you're taking out the trash, because that's how Southern women do. And she said she rejected that. She rebelled against that, all of that, because she wanted to just be her own person and not feel like any of that had anything to do with her. So she said she went those ways of wearing her pajamas to class and, all that sort of thing. And she said what she's found out over the years is she says, what if I've been wrong? What if I've tossed out everything stereotypically related to being a lady and I threw out a good deal of what's good? So I think that's so great when somebody recognizes in their own life and can share that with other people, because this is somebody coming from a place of, okay, I did that, and it really, guess what, it really didn't work. And she talks about Kate Middleton and how Kate Middleton being on the scene today as a princess, but even more than that, just being a lady.
Right.
She really has represented ladylike in a great way, even though we don't all have this same idea of kings and queens and princes and princesses in our
that's
country.
why the British society is still so much. There's so many things that are proper because they still have the decorum of the monarchy.
Right.
Whether they do have kind of a twisted humor sometimes that we view as crass and whatnot at times, but their decorum is proper because it's commanded of them through the monarchy.
That's right.
That's the way their world is still today.
It is. Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
some things that we do are just considered horrendous to them, and some things they do are considered rude behavior to us,
Right.
because of but it's more in the humor, not in the decorum or the protocol.
That's right. Well, and just watching how Kate Middleton has operated in this place of being in the public eye and dressing very modestly and ladylike, and just giving us a great role model. She really has.
Both of them, she and William both. I mean, they
really
were
have.
determined to do it themselves,
Right.
He was going to drive the baby home and let them see that really bucks protocol right there now.
But they haven't stepped so far out of the
No,
boundary.
they're just doing it well.
They're doing it very well.
Yes.
And one thing, I love this sentence this lady says. She says, we live in the very kind of world the flower power children of the 60s wanted. A world free of objective standards, but we're finding it's not the utopia they envisioned.
Chaos.
Instead, we've fallen down the rabbit hole into a world where everything goes, especially online, where vulgarity wins the primetime spotlight, and people like, and these are her words, Snooki and Kim Kardashian become pop culture powerhouses by virtue of public drunkenness. That's where we are.
Yeah.
And that's why, we're doing this show today, because we think that as parents, we have got to step in there. I mean, I sat down with all my crew last week, and I had 5 boys at the table and 1 girl. And I don't know where all my girls were, but had all the boys. And we sat down to eat, and I looked around, and not one of them, after my years of telling them, had their napkin in their lap.
Yes, that is the first thing.
Ready for
That's
their meal.
right.
And so the first thing I say is, okay, boys, what's the first thing we do? Yes, when we sit down to eat, we put our napkin in our lap. We're going to use good manners, whether we're in our home or in a restaurant or wherever, because everybody around you deserves that we
absolutely.
we all eat respectfully, and we
that's what we're
treat each
talking
other.
about.
That's right.
Respectfulness. The statement that one of the authors had put it into words was, in peace, through charm and social grace, we celebrate the human race. That was her way of encapsulating why we need etiquette. I mean, as parents, we strive to give our children a good start in life while passing down basic table manners and good behavior from one generation to the next.
Right.
But with our fast-paced lives, we're finding that we're doing more eating with finger foods, like drive-through. But you know what? We can still have good manners. We can still talk to them. And when we are at a table, it is important, therefore, that we do stress the importance of good behavior. Like you said, putting your napkin in your lap and making it a focal point of respecting the world around you.
Right.
It's an important thing. The proper definition of etiquette literally means the conventional requirements as to proper social behavior. Etiquette will help you fit in socially. It will help you adapt your behavior so that you probably won't offend anyone, and you'll never feel embarrassed because you don't know what to do. That's why I'm teaching what I'm teaching right now, is because so many young kids aren't really sure what to do, and that makes you self-conscious. When there's just little things that
typically when a person doesn't know what to do, they do something silly,
just
because
it's
just covering it up.
That's
it's
right.
Not really.
That's right.
Well, as we end this segment, I want to read one other line that this woman says in her article. She says, I don't want to live in a world where neither my daughter nor I are free to speak our minds, but I do want to live in a world where we, myself most of all, refrain from doing so because of kindness. And see, that is such a great thought, because we live in this time of oversharing everything and we're speaking our mind, but it's easy to see the appeal of someone like Kate Middleton, who doesn't have to say and do everything in front of everyone.
Right. My dad, there was a time to be quiet and a time to speak. Because there were 7 kids. And we knew when it was time to be quiet. When we traveled with our dad, he'd have meetings and we'd sit in the waiting room. All of us, hands in our lap, folded.
And mind your manners.
But then he would make sure and do something really, really fun after that.
That's great.
I think when we would sit at the table, sit down for dinner, the napkin, the place setting was there. And we knew exactly what we needed to do, put the napkin in your lap. And we were expected to do that.
And you know what? This is a little hint that I'm just thinking about. One thing that cuts down on problems in your home is to have rituals. If your children fight over where they sit, then it's a rule.
That's right.
We had assigned seats at our table, and I bet you did. Yep, you did. And I knew exactly where I was to sit every time, and I'm sure my mother did that because she didn't want 6 kids squabbling about who sat where at every meal. So we had a assigned seat, and there was no more discussion about it. And you can do that in any area if there's arguing about where they sit in the car.
Exactly.
You just decide what the rule is, and then all you have to do is say, do you remember the rule?
That's right.
And then
that is your seat.
Yeah.
And the thing is, some people may be listening to us thinking, just sounds so harsh. Can I tell you that when you read any books on child development, strong boundaries are where children flourish. So when you make a boundary and you set a rule, because there's no room for argument, then there's just joy. There's happiness. And it doesn't mean they're not going to find other things to pick about. But you are determining the atmosphere as the parent. You're determining a place of peace by determining who's going to be where.
Right.
It is a good thing.
And the same thing about the food you put on the table.
Exactly.
Now, and you can decide what you want. You can have a 1-bite rule, a 2-bite rule. You can tell all your children, whatever's on your plate, you have to have 2 bites of it. Or you can say...
We always had a no thank you helping.
A no thank you helping. That's a great way to do it. But again, once the rule is in place, then there's no more discussion. Well, you just say, remember the rule.
And Dad would have us take a no thank you helping because, I mean, his reasoning to us and explanation was if your mother is going to put the time and effort into creating a healthy meal for you, you're going to honor that and respect that by taking at least a no thank you helping.
That's right.
And, that just teaches more respect. That's what this is all about, respect and honor. And that goes in line with the Word of God because children are to honor their parents. I mean, we're to honor and respect one another. The basis for the class that I'm teaching, whereas when everything I go into, I've told you this, but everything as I'm preparing it, there's scripture after scripture that come to my mind, which shows how important it is to God, our behavior. Just starting with Proverbs chapter 20, verse 11. Even children are known by the way they act, whether their conduct is pure, whether it is right.
And isn't that true? I mean,
oh, yeah.
Can't you just name a child and they are known
both
by
sides of it?
Yes, both ways, by their behavior. We have some little kiddos living with us right now, and this family is so precious. They moved here from California, and they have just trained their children. They're very polite.
And they're lovely.
When someone comes in the back
around.
door, they shake their hands and greet them.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Absolutely.
You just segued perfectly because we were talking during the break how in the Latin American countries,
which you're friends with several Latin American friends.
Well, my mother grew up in Ecuador.
Oh, yes,
and
absolutely.
And then we have many friends that are from Mexico and Cuba and all in that Latin American influence. You do not see a child walk into a room with adults in it that they do not go to each one and greet them if it's a social setting.
Right.
You don't. And I mean, it's so precious and it's impressive to see the respect. And I mean, their parents aren't making them do it. They're trained to do it. That's what they know to be acceptable. It's so important. I mean, one of the things that we talked about last week in our class was, okay, it's very simple. If you're not sure how to present yourself, how you present yourself tells the world how you feel about yourself, how you perceive yourself. So you walk up, you extend your hand, you look square in the eye, and you say, "Hi, my name is Jenny Remsberg." And they will shake your hand and give you their title, their name. And it is appropriate to give them a title, Mr. or Mrs. That's just respect.
Right.
And some people think that's just stuffy. No, there's a place and a time for respect.
Right. And here's the deal. If you get all hung up on this word of training, don't, that it's too stuffy or whatever. Remember, you're training them some way.
Hello.
You're training them not to greet people. There's a training going on, whether you realize it or not. So why not make the training that you do be for a benefit, for a good benefit for them? Again, all of this child rearing that you're doing right now and I'm doing with mine.
Make it count.
Yeah,
oh
realize
gracious.
You're raising an adult.
You are.
These child years are very short.
They are.
Our adult years can be rather long. And we want them to be.
And we want them to be equipped and comfortable. I know you said that training, it made me think of one time, I don't know, last year maybe, Benton's first year. And when he had, I think, sociology, the professor was talking about raising, how you were raised and whatever. And Benton said he told the professor, "I wasn't raised. I was trained." I mean, and when he said that, I've never said that to him.
Yeah.
I've never said those words like that to him. And I just busted out laughing because it sounds like, a regime or something. But he said, "Mom, I was trained. I mean, we've been trained, not just raised that." And that clicked with me.
I love that.
Because I didn't see it like that. But that is what the point you just made is so true.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're doing some training, whether we
good, bad, or indifferent.
Recognizing it or not. And so let's be deliberate in how we're training our children.
That's it.
And yes, we're going to have to say it over and over again. No, they won't get it the first time. I can promise you that. But that's what that whole idea of training is all about.
Yes, I can remember their daddy saying, "How many times do we have to say it?" And I'd say, "As many times as it takes."
As many times as it takes. And I'd say that's why God gives us that 18 years. We've got, he knows it's going to take a while. We're not puppy dogs.
Oh, my word.
It's
and
going
not
to
robots.
take, no, we're not. It's going to take a while to,
Oh, my
and
gracious.
if you think about anything else we do in life, whether we're taking piano lessons or guitar, or anything that we do, there's a level of time and effort that has to go into that, or the outcome will not be as you want.
We were talking earlier about presenting yourself.
Yes.
And when, just like you're saying, practicing and having the outcome be what you want. This, because our culture is so different today, many parents may not be telling their kids. And if you haven't, don't beat yourself up over it. It's simple.
Right.
But help your child understand their posture. Your
Right.
posture speaks before you do. Your posture. Rolling their shoulders back and just dropping them down. Just having them stand with their chin up, not looking down when they're walking around. Right. You know, was it you that you and I were talking about the posture of today because of always having your head down?
Right.
You know,
Yes.
either on your phone or playing games. You can see people so hunched over. We must be deliberate.
And then
about
there
having-
is a worry about our physical,
Right.
our necks. You know?
Right. And we just have to be,
Yeah.
in our family, you know, Olivia will say to me, shoulders, Mom, or I'll say shoulders. Because when you're tall, you
Right.
also tend to slump a little bit just because most people are below,
Right.
you know, just a little bit lower.
They do
you
the same
can't.
thing.
I mean, I
Yes.
told my kids that my classroom, it's so important. I mean, I had them stand up, roll their shoulders back, drop them down, and walk deliberately straight ahead, looking ahead, and walking around. And I said, now I made one group do it and then another group, and I had the other ones watch. Let me tell you something. They saw very quickly the difference.
The difference. It's great.
Very different.
So this is not a show saying you guys aren't doing it. You guys
Right.
are doing it, but it's a reminder to all of us, everybody who's got children in their life, that this is a training.
It is. And it's
Yeah.
an important thing for us as parents just to give our kids just a basis to feel confident in. We were talking about how the scripture of Proverbs 20, verse 11, even children are known by the way they act, whether their conduct is pure and right.
And what's funny to me, how that verse starts with even children are known.
Right, because hello.
Yeah, they really are known. All of us are known.
That means adults.
Right.
We're known by the way we behave. And we all know that.
Yeah.
And the thing is we're not trying to get you to be stuffy and be hard, take on something very difficult. We just are
No.
trying to give you a few pointers that you can do to give your children a basis where they can feel comfortable.
Well, we've seen, and we won't mention any names, and this isn't meant to be a commentary, but we've seen some very public displays lately by young women, men and women, who don't present themselves in the right way, and they're becoming known for that way,
for their behavior. Because they have no clue who they are.
They have no clue.
No.
And what we want to do, we want to be very mindful with the children in our lives, you guys out there listening, as well as us, that our children are secure in who they are.
Exactly.
And who they belong to.
That's
the
exactly
family
right.
they're in, and they're a child of God, and all of those things.
And how they present themselves, because your
That's right.
behavior does affect you, your family, your faith, your school, your community, your culture, and your country.
That's right.
That's a lot. And you think, oh, brother, it does not. Trust me, it does. When we were traveling overseas, people would immediately go, oh, you're American. Like, what does that mean? Well, because over here we have big plates of food, and they feel over where they have smaller plates of food that's barbaric. And, you are known. You're known
Right.
by the way that you behave. And we were talking earlier about how important it is that we impart to our children a good way, a proper way to present themselves. Just looking in the eye, shaking hands, introducing themselves, putting their shoulders back, looking straight ahead, holding their chin up.
And
Your
this is
posture.
a training you can start doing when they
Yes.
are very young.
Yes,
That will help them
absolutely.
so much when they reach that middle school years, when everybody feels gawky and uncomfortable and out of place and all those things. And I can look back at my mom, who helped us during those years. There was great training in our homes about our manners. I mean, we've
Right.
said earlier in the show today that my parents constantly said to us, mind your manners.
Yes.
And that was the end of the conversation,
That's
because
right.
we knew our manners. Our mom had already taught us. It
That's
wasn't
right.
like we were going to say, and what are those?
Right,
No,
exactly.
we knew them.
Be mindful.
Because from a young age, my mother insisted that we present ourselves a certain way to other adults and other children we were playing with, and we knew how to eat in a restaurant. We knew those things. So when she said, mind your manners, there was no question about what those manners were.
Right.
So this is something that can be taught
Absolutely.
to our children.
And there are resources. I mean, I've checked out several DVDs that I'm going to show in my classroom. Another thing that this age is uncomfortable about is when they start doing different events and they're not quite sure how to present themselves, whether it's a banquet, whether it's a dance, whether it's a party. I said, okay, when you're not sure how to dress, go classic. Because classic is always going to be right. Whether it's, for a female, you wear a little black dress and throw on, not too little black dress, but you wear a black dress and throw on some pearls and you're classic.
Right.
It's beautiful. If they're dressed way up, you're in the right place. If they're not dressed up, you're still fine.
Right.
Gentlemen, a collared shirt with a button-up shirt tucked in. I know the style is for them to be tucked out. My boys do that too. But if you're going to a certain event and you're not sure, tuck it in, put a belt on, closed shoes. Ladies can wear open shoes, but gentlemen, wear closed shoes and a nice pair of jeans that's not raveled or a pair of slacks. Just very simple 1, 2, 3s. When you don't know, then you can feel confident. I'm presenting myself well.
Right. And you use the word gentleman, and I think that's a great word to use. And a lot of people think that's a stuffy word to use.
Well, they kind of snickered when I said it.
Yeah.
And I said, that is not a bad word.
No, it's not a bad word.
You really do want to be a gentleman.
You want to be a gentleman, and a gentleman and you think of the men in your life who you respect the most, and the word gentleman would be right beside those men, because those are the men who know how to treat other people, not just ladies, other people in a kind way. But that goes back
to the respect.
Right.
When you're respecting yourself and presenting yourself well, you are going to respect others.
Right.
And you'll receive respect. Some may make fun of you, but it doesn't matter. You know that you're doing what's right. You do the right thing. It all ties together with the Word of God. I could go on forever.
You had some other scriptures.
Oh, a ton.
So share
seriously,
another one.
We also talked about when you make a commitment to behave well, to practice etiquette, you're saying, I am going to leave behind bad behavior. I'm going to leave behind rude conversation. When you're sitting at the table, you're going to have, and we talk about different things that they can talk about that are good conversation starters and how to listen. And we talk about all these things. Of course, it's 11 weeks.
Yes.
These courses.
Yeah.
But when I talked about them, I said, you guys think it's funny. I'm not saying you can't joke around and whatever. I know that you're boys and I know whatever, but even the Word of God talks about it. Proverbs 4:24 says, avoid all perverse talk. Stay away from corrupt speech. Proverbs 10:32 says, let the lips of the godly speak helpful words, but the mouth of the wicked speaks perverse words. Do you want to be viewed as wicked? Really, come on.
Well, and what's funny, an interesting funny, not a funny haha, but interesting funny, is this was written a long time ago.
That's what I'm saying.
It's God's idea. We're not inventing bad behavior.
No.
This has been you guys who are
the good
cutting up and
behaviors,
acting up and talking bad and using crude language. You're not the first ones to do this.
No. But it's clear God's take on it.
God wouldn't have said that he did the warning when he did. So
it is important that we as Christians are ambassadors, that we show ourselves well. I taught them what an ambassador is.
Right.
There are ambassadors to every country, American ambassadors, U.S. ambassadors in the embassies, and they have to learn a certain protocol so that they are respectful and so that they fit in a respectful way.
Right.
It is very important. We're ambassadors of the Most High God. How much more so should we be peaceful? How much more so should we be respectful? I always, in our class, we say both verses, Proverbs 20, verse 11 and 12. Even children are known by the way they act, whether their conduct is pure and whether it is right. Ears to hear and eyes to see are both gifts from the Lord.
Right.
Why do you think he says that?
Yeah.
Because we have to be intentional to have his eyes to see, his ears to hear. And when you're getting good training like this, it's important that you pay attention so that you can apply it.
Right.
That's ears to hear and eyes to see.
I love how it says it's a gift.
Those are gifts from the Lord.
And we abuse that gift so many times.
Or we don't receive it.
We don't receive it.
We don't receive that gift, and so we don't practice it.
Well, that's our show for the day. We're talking about minding your manners today, and we'll put some things up on our website that will help you as well with this particular topic. And just be mindful
That's
of that
right. Just
this
be
week.
intentional. It's not hard.
You can start at any time. To start today, if you're looking at your family, you're evaluating, you're saying, okay, I haven't done a great job doing this. Start now.
Or maybe we've slipped.
Right.
I find, because when we don't
Me
meet it
too.
around the table, when we do things fast, then when we do, and look, I started when I was homeschooling my kids, every Friday morning we went out to eat for breakfast. And they had to order themselves. They had to put their napkin in their lap, use a knife and a fork to cut their pancakes. I mean,
Right.
we started early.
Right.
And still today, I can find us in a situation where I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
everybody stop, look around.
Start over.
What's wrong with this picture?
There you go.
Just stop and start that.
There you go. All right. Before we leave you today, we want to leave you with these 4 things. Thank God that you are the mom of your family.
Speak words that speak life into your children and draw their hearts closer to God.
And remember, whatever you're doing, whether you're teaching manners or whatever, be consistent. Kids thrive on consistency.
But consistency does not have to mean boring. It doesn't mean boring. So have fun with your children. And we look forward to being with you again this coming Monday.
We'll see you soon.